My great-grandmother, grandmother, and mother, 3 women born and raised in a tiny village in northern India with little to no education. All 3 had arranged marriages as teenagers. At a time where wealth was based on having many children, especially a son, my great-grandmother only had 1 child, and she was a girl. My grandmother had 2 children, and by the age of 21, she was a widow and was disowned by her in-laws. My mother was the first to go to high school, but not allowed to have a job or life outside the home. These 3 women were not allowed to choose love, to choose their life partner, or to choose to pursue their dreams. And now here I was, a grown, adult, successful woman in the United States, with all the luxuries that my ancestors never had, and yet I still felt empty. As women in this world, we're so used to playing many roles and placing everybody else's needs as a top priority. Choosing our happiness feels selfish, so our own desires and ambitions take a back seat. Our childhood upbringing sets the stage for how we make choices later in life, but many of those decisions are based on conditioning and trauma rather than experience and wisdom. We place a significant value on time invested and money spent to dictate whether it's acceptable to make a change. There's a strict unspoken rule that once you make a choice, you stick with it. But what happens when it no longer feels authentic? We as human beings have placed ourselves within invisible borders and certain rules of behavior. We've created our own man-made cage and call that living and natural. We are all showing up to this game of life with social norms, conditioning, self-limiting beliefs, childhood trauma, and then expect to live a fulfilling life within that construct. When we maneuver in an environment that lacks freedom, there's no room for authenticity. Many of us have outgrown the cage, but we don't know how to unlock the door. For me, finding the key began with looking back at the journey of the women of my family lineage, understanding their stories, having gratitude for the changes that they made, and then giving myself permission to choose different. How many times have you been on an adventure trip and watched the daring ones jump off the edge of a cliff and into a huge body of water? You witness their fear turn into smiles, and then you wonder, can I do that too? I stood at the edge of that cliff for many years, unable to take the leap. I retreated back from the edge many times because there was so much guilt in choosing my happiness. It took deep soul surgery and a million deaths to rebirth that woman that could finally let go of the fear and jump off the edge of that cliff and into her most authentic life. Yes, change can feel like a bomb explosion, but just because it's painful doesn't mean it's wrong. Because you're sad about the change doesn't mean it's not one that's meant to happen. Because your decision affects loved ones doesn't mean you're being selfish. There is a difference between selfish and self-love. I finally gave myself permission to take off that heavy suit of armor, to let go of the role of being Wonder Woman, and allow myself to be vulnerable, to be seen, to speak my truth. I surrendered the battle in my head, let go of that checklist and the roles everyone needed me to play. I was now free to just be me. It is because of the women before me and the decisions that they made that I now have the opportunity to have a choice, to live a life that feels authentic. It is because of their strength and the knowing that there was a world out there beyond what they could see, that there was a life their daughter deserved to live, that I stand here today with the opportunity to share this story. It is because of my great-grandmother who went against social norms and raised her only daughter as a son. It is because of my grandmother who stepped outside of her comfort zone and worked alongside men in the workforce during a time where women were expected to stay at home. It is because of my mother who left everyone and everything she knew in India to move to a country where she didn't know anyone, didn't know the language, didn't have the support, yet was able to raise a family with so much love. She would always tell me when I was a teenager, Asha, study hard, get a good job, and never depend on anyone for money. And when my dad would tell her to teach me how to cook, my mom would say, no, I am not going to teach her how to cook because her place is not in the kitchen. If you dig deep, you'll see that the stories of these women is the story of many. It's like watching a 4-woman relay race in track and field. Each woman tries her best to run her journey and then passes the baton on to the next. Each leg of the journey creates change, and each woman celebrates the other. I share with you the words spoken to me by a very special spirit guide named Chief Red Eagle, channeled by Riz Mirza, and he said, Asha, the baton is being passed to you. It is not a race, it is a victory lap. So I share these words with you. Take the baton, run with it. It is your turn. There's no time left for playing small. There is nothing to wait for. Don't wait until your kids go to college to live the life that you want. Don't wait until you retire to do the things you want to do. Don't wait for a vacation to have fun. It is your birthright to live your most authentic life in freedom, in joy, in love, and in celebration. And when you take that baton and run your journey, just know that your ancestors are on the sidelines cheering you on. It has been an honor to be here.